You know, we often think progress is about building up, right? But what if I told you that to create something truly new, you first have to destroy what's old? It's a pretty radical idea, I know, but it's at the very heart of this incredible story about what it really takes to change the world. And it all begins not with climbing higher, but with a descent.
So, to get our heads around this, we're going to start with a parable. It's a simple story, but trust me, it holds the key to this whole idea, this whole concept of what it takes to change not just ourselves, but the world around us.
Okay, so picture this. There's a hermit living way up high on a mountain. For a full decade, he's been living in complete solitude. And his only companion really is this well of pure, sweet water. This well, it's everything to him. It's his source of spiritual purity. For 10 long years, that water has nourished his body and his spirit. This quiet, isolated wisdom, that was his whole world.
But then, everything changes. This is the turning point. After all that time, he looks into his perfect well, and all he sees is his own reflection staring back. And suddenly, this deep, profound weariness just washes over him. He gets it. His purity, his goodness, it's become sterile. It's stagnant. It's a goodness that isn't actually doing any good for anyone else.
So he makes a choice, a huge one. He fills up a clay pitcher with his pure water, and he starts to descend the mountain. And this act, this deliberate move from his safe little world into the complete unknown, this is what we're going to call his going under. When he gets to the bottom, what does he find? A village. And the people there, they're drinking from this gross stagnant pool. They're worshiping a rock next to it, convinced that this rock is what gives their tainted water its power. This is the messy, chaotic reality he has chosen to step into. And he knows, right? He just knows that words aren't going to cut it. They're not going to listen. So in this one single, incredibly courageous and, destructive act, he smashes his pitcher. The very vessel of his pure, solitary truth. He smashes it against their sacred rock. And the result? Well, it's chaos, just as you'd expect. The villagers are furious. They're crying out in anger. But then, something amazing happens. Right there, from the shattered pieces, a brand new, clear spring starts to bubble up from the ground. Now listen, because this is the most important part. The hermit doesn't stick around. He doesn't become their new guru. He doesn't try to control the spring. He was just the catalyst. He shattered their old reality to create the possibility of a new one, and then he just walked away. See, his purpose wasn't to own the water, but to set it free.
So, a broken pitcher, what in the world does that have to do with changing the world? Well, this story, this parable, is actually a really powerful metaphor for a deep philosophical idea about what it takes to create real, meaningful change.
That hermit's journey, his descent down the mountain, it has a name. It's called the going under. And it's a concept that perfectly describes this courageous, intentional descent from safety into chaos.
And let's be clear, this is no passive surrender. It's not giving up. It's an active, creative, and incredibly brave choice to leave that safe, solitary mountaintop and dive headfirst into the messy, chaotic world of humanity to try and bring some light.
Okay, so this whole idea of going under, it's pretty deep. It actually has 3 distinct layers. Let's break them down. All right, layer 1, the sacrifice of the self. To evolve, to actually make a difference, you have to be willing to kill your old self. Think about the hermit. He had to destroy that peaceful, contemplative man he had become, because that solitary goodness, it had gone stagnant. He had to risk his very being, let go of everything he was to become something more. Layer 2 is what we'd call a dangerous crossing. Seriously, think of it like a one-way bridge. There's no going back. Once that hermit smashed his pitcher, that's it. He could never go back to his quiet, simple life on the mountain. The act is totally irreversible. And finally, layer 3, planting the seed of the new. Because here's the thing, the goal isn't just to destroy stuff. By burying himself in that chaos, the hermit's real purpose is to plant a seed for a new way of thinking, a new consciousness that could only ever be born from that messy, chaotic ground. Okay, now for the aha moment. Let's connect all the pieces. When we map the parable directly onto the philosophy, the whole thing just clicks into place. It becomes crystal clear. Check this out. The hermit's well, that's the decade of solitary, pure, but ultimately sterile contemplation. The pitcher he carries, that's his old self, his individual piety that he has to sacrifice. And smashing the pitcher, well, that's the big, courageous, destructive act, which, by the way, perfectly mirrors the real story of St. Bonafice felling Thor's oak to break old beliefs. The new spring that bubbles up is the opportunity for a new faith, and him walking away, that's the key. It shows the goal is to be a catalyst for others, not their ruler.
And all of this brings us to the ultimate point of the going under. It's not about destruction for destruction's sake. It's not about leaving a void. It's about creating the perfect conditions for something new and beautiful to rise up out of the chaos.
You see, the ultimate goal isn't just to destroy what's old, it's to plant what's new. It's to plant, as the source material beautifully puts it, the dancing star of a different consciousness. And that star, that new way of being, can only be born from that chaos.
And so that leaves us with a pretty provocative question, doesn't it? One we can ask ourselves about our own lives and our own world. What picture must be broken? What cherished idea, what comfortable solitude needs to be shattered for a new, clearer spring to finally emerge?